just a bloke in a bar.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Captain's Run. I've got the great Cameron Smith, mate. As always, my week gets better. I'm in the depths of despair on Monday. I get a bit better on Tuesday, and then when I see your beautiful face, it just flies me into the weekend. How you been, buddy?
I'm going all right, Kempy. Going all right, mate. We're getting closer. We're only a fortnight away from the finals, mate. I'm firing up a little bit, but great to be on here with you again, great man. How you been?
Mate.
How you been going, mate?
Mate, I tell you what, finals footy, at the start of the year, midway through the year, I was kind of I wasn't nervous about finals footy, but I was like, you know what? It's really just Penrith and the Storm. So is the final series going to be that interesting? I think we can be dispelled of that worry now that we've seen Manly, Rabbitohs control the game for maybe 60 minutes and then, they blew out the end. What about yourself? Do you feel similar when it comes to more people in the race for the premiership?
Yeah, I do. I still feel Penrith and the Storm are clear standouts. But, those teams you mentioned, the Rabbitohs, Manly, if they are at their very best, they'll compete with those two sides. There's no doubt about that. And we've seen, in past final series, all you need is a little bit of luck to go your way. Like I look back to, 2017, the Cowboys, they thought they were gone in the final round of the premiership, right? They played, I think, early in the weekend, went to the pub to have some beers, and then all of a sudden found out, through results that they'd made the finals. They ended up making the grand final against the Melbourne Storm from 8th position.
Incredible.
And they beat some really good footy sides along the way. I think they beat Cronulla and they beat the Roosters, who were standout teams in that competition. So you just don't know when it comes to the final series. A little luck goes your way, a bounce of the ball, a couple of calls here and there, some really strong performances by some individuals. You just don't know. But at this stage, the clear standouts are Melbourne and Penrith.
Mate, you know what the 2017 Cowboys run reminds me of? Is the weeks I met my missus. Everyone counted me out. A lot of big dogs, they were ahead of me. But I hung in there, mate. I hung in there and I
Persevered.
I persevered and I got it now.
Well done.
Onto expansion chat. Now, first question.
Yes.
Do you think the NRL should expand and can it expand?
Well, the hot topic this year, Kempy, has been about, the quality of the competition, some of the rosters across the NRL that they've been found to be a little bit skinny. So when you're thinking about talent, is there enough talent to be spread across the competition? Possibly not right now. Possibly not right now because, we've been talking about, the situation of the Bulldogs and the West Tigers and, what's happening with recruitment and rosters. Well, you got great rosters at a handful of clubs and then other rosters are quite skinny. Can we afford to spread what we currently have across another team of 40 players? That's my only concern. My only concern. Does it help, bring in a few more broadcast dollars and other, avenues of revenue? Yes, it does. But at the cost of the quality of the competition, I don't know. That's what, Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo need to weigh up. Quality of the competition compared to, bringing in new revenue. I just don't know.
It's interesting. Would you consider, let's say you're V'landys and you're trying to put this together, you basically need to give this every chance of success. So now, again, the people the clubs that are looking to expand, we've got the Firehawks, we've got Redcliffe Dolphins, we've got the Ipswich Jets. They seem to be the guys at the forefront of it.
Yep.
But if you're V'landys, are you basically saying any club that expands has to have Wayne Bennett because he's really the only one that gives it a fair chance to go okay and recruit?
Oh, well, there's quality coaches out there other than Wayne Bennett. But, he knows the region. He knows Southeast Queensland. He was the inaugural coach of the Broncos when they started up. So he understands how to get a franchise up and running. He was there in '88 when the Broncos started, and they become a powerhouse very early on. Like they won a premiership in '92, only 4 years after they come into the competition. So, he at the same time he had a lot of great players at his disposal through that era. Including one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever, Wally Lewis. But that's what I'm talking about now, Kempy, is do we have that quality available to these aspiring teams to come in with a new bid? I'm not too sure. I think if we're going to expand, we need to start also investing in grassroots. We really do, mate. We have to, and we got to stop relying on, just thinking, league's the number one sport in this region of Queensland or New South Wales or wherever it is in a part of Australia, and just ignore it. Particularly the country or the regional areas. We need to start investing money into, the junior development so we continue to have a quality competition. Inviting these young people into our game to play our sport so we can have a strong competition year in, year out. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are, mate, on the three bids and where you think, if we do have an expansion club, where it should be.
Yeah, mate, it's such a tough call because there's so many moving parts. There's trying to build up loyalty from people in Brisbane. So, what weighs the most what's the most important thing? Do you want to get a fan base? Okay, try to get, you want it in Brisbane, but you want it as far away as possible. Or do you want to, there's so many moving parts. And I agree with you when it comes to talent. When you look at these bottom teams, even Brisbane right now, Brisbane's at the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
and we
that's
have
right.
some of the best young talent. I'm quotation marks. People are listening. A few years ago, we were apparently had the next best front row and the next best. We do have Haas, obviously, but we were touted as this powerhouse about to explode.
Yep.
And we exploded all right to the bottom of the table.
But you're right, mate. The people were talking about this team being like premiership contenders.
Yep.
Only 2 or 3 years ago, and all of a sudden they go to the bottom of the ladder. They picked up the wooden spoon last year. Now they're sitting 14th, and struggling to be even in contention for finals in the top 8 system. So and I agree with you about the loyalties and trying to minimise the impact it has on current teams in the competition and members and fans of those teams. But I think at the end of the day, what will be a major factor will be the financial situation of these three bids. Now we know that both Redcliffe and the Firehawks are cashed up, particularly Redcliffe. They've already got a ready-made stadium up there on the peninsula. We're seeing NRL matches being played there right now, so they're ready to go. The Firehawks. Who is bred out of the East Brisbane club. They're financially stable as well with a great league club and pokies and whatnot. But you must say that when you look at the Ipswich Jets and that western corridor of southeast Queensland, that is a huge talent pool for rugby league out there.
Oh, absolutely. Alfie, the Walters brothers, they I think actually they're juniors. They've got about 16,000, whereas Brisbane has about 11,000 in the juniors.
Yeah.
I want to pitch something to you, Smithy. I'm going to imagine your Vlandis.
Here we go.
Imagine your Vlandis. Now, Vlandis or Smithy, how about instead of a new club, we take the same money we were going to pump into that, but we pump it into Q Cup and New South Wales Cup and raise the standard of the systems that we can. We build a stronger foundation for the next 5 years.
Yes.
And then we expand. Thoughts?
I agree. Let's do it. That's what I was. I mentioned just before about if we want to expand, we need to go back to grassroots and start investing back to grassroots level, and maybe not. Let's not rush into this expansion. Like they're talking about bringing a new team in 23. Possibly 23 or 24. Wow. That's only a couple of years away. Let's look longer term and plan for the. I'm not saying that Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo haven't planned this. They're very good businessmen. They know what they're doing. But what I'm saying is, let's start getting back into the grassroots footy to develop, strong rosters throughout the entire competition, so that so we're not talking about what the topics that we spoke about right off the top of this show. Who is gonna compete with Melbourne and Penrith? Let's not have these conversations in the future. So we're talking about we're going into the last 2 weeks of this competition. I'd rather be having conversations like we don't know who's going to finish in the top 4. Yep. The minor premiership, it's not a race of 2, it's a race of 6. The bottom 4 of the top 8 have not been decided yet. You know what I mean? Like there's the entire competition is vying for a finals position, with the last couple of rounds to go in the comp.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Now, quickly, if you were to sign someone, who would be your marquee signing that is essentially available for second Brisbane side?
Wow. Well, Cameron Munster's thrown his hand up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The money man.
Cameron Munster. Mate, him loose in Brisbane might be a recipe for disaster or greatness. I don't know which one.
I'll tell you what. We've seen comments through the week saying, I'd love to, reunite with Wayne Bennett and blah, blah, blah. I tell you what, he's learnt from the master at pumping up your price, Craig Bellamy.
Bellamy is NRL's Bezos. I said it. It happened. Now we're gonna go to the break. We're gonna go to the break. Don't forget to send us a text anytime. 0457 736 736. This is a captain's run with Cameron Smith for Best Sheds. Best Sheds are up to 40% cheaper than the competitions. Visit bestsheds.com.au. Back shortly on SEN. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith on SEN. Make sure to download the app if you haven't already, or text us 0457 736 736. Now, I want to pose a question to you, Smithy. Being a captain of your state, your country, your club.
Yep.
Who would you have so far this year, or in the running as a favourite for Captain of the Year, Dally M Captain of the Year?
Yeah, good question, mate. I think there's been some pretty good performances as far as captains go this year. But I think, let's start off by Melbourne. Okay, they're on the verge of winning 20 in a row, as something that a team has never done in the history of the game. So you'd say, Jesse Bromwich and Dale Finucane, they are co-captains, so they do share the role. They've done a fantastic job. And, a second year in a row living away from home and still achieving those results. It's a huge effort. But you'd have to throw Teddy in there as well. Given what's happened at the Roosters with some retirements of key players, Jakey Friend and Boydie Cordner, they were the captains of that footy club and both retired early in the season. Serious injuries galore at that club, and still fighting for a top 4 spot. Along with his commitments in the State of Origin with the New South Wales team, I think he's done a wonderful job, along with the other leaders in that team, to manage to, still be fighting for a top 4 spot in this competition. I think it's a great job, that he has done as the leader of that footy side. What are
Absolutely.
Your thoughts?
Mate, I just think Tedesco for sure. Obviously, Melbourne Storm's incredible run, will be probably remembered forever if they break the record. But Tedesco, he's been working with, he was essentially the 4th string captain, and he's been working with half his salary cap, and they're in the top 4 right now. But you got any texts there, mate?
Kempy, the text line has exploded. Mate, we've got 1,000 texts, but I'll try and run through a couple here. Here we go. Talking about expansion. Boys, would you give the new Brisbane team a bigger salary cap for the first 2 years?
I like
Kempy.
it. I like it. I think you should. I definitely think you should be giving them every opportunity to have a fair crack. Well, not a fair crack, but to develop a good quality footy side.
Yep. Well, the AFL did it with GWS and the Suns. They also gave them high draft picks as well, just to get them going. So some people would argue that it sort of backfired, I guess, from the Suns' point of view, that they haven't really – they played some finals early, but then haven't really sort of gone on from there. I don't know. It's a difficult one because you've got all the other clubs, would be thinking, well, that's a little bit unfair. They'd be crying poor.
Yeah.
Campy, which player do you reckon is the NRL's Rookie of the Year this season?
Wow. I mean, I just think Sam Walker. He's a top 4 half. He started off so well, all those try assists, and then the consistency and the physicality of first grade. He adapted to that, and then he came on the weekend and had a try assist and a try. I think it's Sam Walker. But then after that, I would be looking at guys like Reece Walsh, Josh Schuster, Dane Laurie as well. But I'd be giving it to Sam Walker.
Agree with you there. He's been fantastic this season. Another text with Val Holmes moving to centre. Could you see them potentially playing finals footy with their new recruits? Hamiso, Felt, Holmes, Hiku, Tuolungi, Drinkwater, Townsend and Dearden. it's a pretty handy backline. What are your thoughts?
No, I don't. I can't see the I mean, I can. Like, of course, they absolutely any team with Taumalolo and Holmes in it absolutely can play finals footy. But with how they've struggled this year, I think it's going to be a very tall ask to go from second last all the way up to finals footy. What about you, Smithy?
Well, yeah, I think it is. And for me, I don't know about you, but they've been one of the disappointments of 2021. Yeah, given their squad, their roster, they got a very good roster. Well, it's a pretty handy roster, and they got some quality players. I would have thought they would have done much better than what they've done this year. I had them in the finals for sure. Like, I had them in the top 8, and obviously some things haven't gone well from this year. They haven't had a lot of luck with Taumalolo, and he's had 3 fractured he's fractured one hand 3 times in one season. It's it's been unfortunate, but still, like, they've got the team there to be in the top 8 at least. But it's I don't know, changing one player's position, does that change an entire result of a club's position in the top in the competition? I'm not too sure. Hey boys, breaking news. Don't know where this has come from. Hey boys, breaking news. Thoughts on George Burgess being investigated by the NRL for a road rage incident?
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that fair dinkum?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's breaking news that he's being investigated, but we don't know anything. There's no information out. It could be a beat up. It also could be real. So I'm not sure. Hopefully it is just a beat up. Hopefully he didn't do that, because you'd hate for him to be everything that St. George have gone through this year. For something like this to come out before that would be devastating. But thoughts on the perfect person to ask, Smithy. The Storm have too many good players. It's such a headache. They have too many good players.
Yeah.
You've got Pappenhuisen, who seems to have got that fullback spot back. You've got the great Cheese, who is probably the best 9 in the comp right now, form wise.
Yep.
You've got Harry Grant, who is playing incredible when he gets an opportunity.
Yes.
Then you've got you've got Nass on the bench. You've got Kamakamika.
Yep.
How would you fit Hines? Let's say you had everyone fit.
Yep.
Where would you have Hines and Pappenhuisen and Grant and Cheese?
Well, let's start it this way. Paps is number 1, right? He's the fullback, and he's going to be playing. For me, I'd be playing him 80 minutes. Okay, he's the best fullback option for the Storm. Brandon, he starts at 9 with Harry Grant on the bench, because in these big games, the gas is going to be sucked out of the cheese.
Yes.
Literally. And he's going to need a break at some stage, and that combination has been so potent for Melbourne. When you put Brandon Smith on to start the match, he takes the sting out of the match. He's a bigger body, he's a bit more robust. So when the big collisions are happening early on in the match, like, he can handle that. And as I said, he takes the sting out of the game for Harry Grant. When Harry Grant was coming onto the field, late in the first half, early second half, whichever way, Craig Bellamy decided, it was working so well for Melbourne. Now, I know he's taken the opportunity to give Brandon a rest last week. He was a bit banged up, and Harry played really well. I just feel that the combination of Brandon starting with Harry off the bench would be the best way forward for Melbourne. Now, the tricky thing with that is, where does that leave Nicho Hines? And the hardest part of it is, he's been one of their standout players this year.
One of the best in the comp.
Best in the comp. And, from numbers-wise particularly, like, he's in the top, 5 of line break assists. He's in the top 5, for try assists, maybe still. He scored plenty himself. His goal kicking was fantastic. So to leave him out would seem very unfair, given, the standard of his game this year. But there is only 17 spots. Now, does Craig Bellamy take the punt to having one less big man on the bench when you carry Harry Grant and Nicho Hines? Now, Nicho Hines, he can come on and play a bit of a roving role in the middle, but if one of your big men go down, then you're a big man short.
What about Nicho Hines to centre, Remus Smith to the wing?
Yeah, well, that's an option. That's definitely an option for Craig, but I'm not sure whether he'll go that way. I don't know how much time actually Nicho Hines has spent in the centres with the team. I'm not saying he wouldn't handle it, but I don't think he's played very little time in that position. So it's going to be it's a difficult decision. It's a great headache to have. There's no doubt about that. But it's going to be a difficult decision to make. Think back to the grand final last year, Kempy.
Yep.
Nico Hines was in the 17 because Craig Bellamy took him in as coverage for, anywhere in the back line, as well as at a pinch to play in the middle. He didn't get on the field.
Wow.
He didn't get on the field. Now, we were very fortunate that we got out to a pretty handy lead, and we had a lead for the most part of that game. But do you want to go through a final series where you're carrying someone on the bench when there's actually not a particular role that he's going to fill? Do you run that risk of carrying someone that you may not even play and take the gamble of only using 16 men? That's the question that Craig has to answer.
Mate, I tell you what, it's a good question to have, that's for sure. Make sure to shoot us a text on 0457 736. This is a Captain's Run with Cameron Smith for Best Sheds. Best Sheds are up to 40% cheaper than the competition. Visit bestsheds.com.au. Back shortly on SEN. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith on SEN. Make sure to download the app if you haven't already. We've got, a million texts coming in. Hey, Kempy and Go, how was it playing against Lockyer in his golden era? Smithy?
Oh, it was fantastic. I got to play with and against him. Kempy, you played alongside him your entire career, pretty much. Look, it was great. I actually played alongside Lockyer when he was playing 5'8".
Yeah, okay.
And fullback.
Wow.
So, to see him in his prime wearing the number 1 jersey, I made my Origin debut when he was playing fullback, and it was just, he was so silky and classy with the way he moved across the field. I'd never sort of, I'd just started my career, but I'd never come up against a player that moved so quickly and just so elegantly. I know it sounds a bit funny talking about a rugby league player moving elegantly, but the way he moved, mate, I remember when I first started, right, we used to, instead of 9s, it was 7s. And so they used to have a pre-season 7s tournament in Sydney, and I got picked in the side. This is when I could actually move a little bit. Anyway.
Gracefully?
We put no, not gracefully, no. Just chugged away like a big old tractor. But anyway, I found I got caught on the wing, and we're playing against the Broncos. This is down at the footy stadium, and they zinged him the ball with this big cutout because they seen me out there as just this rookie young fella, and mate, he got the ball, put this in and away on me, and within just bang like that, he was gone. He just stood me still and just went bang right round me up the touchline and ran 60 metres to score. I'll never forget. I'm just thinking, mate, how we got scored on and beaten, and he made me look silly, but I was just sitting there thinking, how good is this? Mate, how good is this bloke?
I think people forget that he was a great running fullback for a very the best in the world. The best in the world.
Yeah, he was, mate. He was the best. Yeah. That shows how good Lockyer is. And sometimes I feel as though, sort of people don't realise how good he was. He was the best fullback in the world when he was playing fullback, and then he moved to 5'8", and he was the best 5'8" in the world.
Absolutely.
Not many blokes can do that.
Oh, it's incredible. And that's what I think why he's one of my greatest ever is because you could argue that he's the greatest ever fullback and the greatest ever 5'8".
Yep.
And that's why he's the ability to do that is, incredible. But we've got more text here. Beacon Smithy, will the bunker ever stop trying to rob Brisbane Broncos of a win? I think I said that in my burner. That's from Kenan Demp.
Oh, dear. No comment. We'll move on.
What do you personally think the West Tigers need to fix so they have a chance at finals this season?
Well, look, mate, I don't know. Did you see the game on the weekend? Did you watch the game against Cronulla on the weekend? Their defence in particular, it just looked like they just didn't want to be there. They were making line breaks left, right, and centre. Outside backs were running through their middle forwards, they were on the halfway line, just running through them, just willy nilly. Yeah, it's great. Thick boys, nothing personal. You got to aim up. You got to fix your attitude. Footy is about wanting to be there and being hungry to make a difference.
There's no energy.
Yeah, don't be satisfied with getting a jersey on the weekend, getting thrown a jersey to be in the top 17 on the weekend. You got to aim up, boys.
Yep.
Number one, that's for me. Just have a bit of show something when you get that jersey and get out on the field that you want to win for your team and for your members and your fans.
Well, I say it every week with the Broncos. The reason why it was so hard to watch them lose last year is there were games where you saw that where they didn't have any energy, and it was like, that hurts. But when I see the boys get beaten, but they've been having a dig all day, I don't mind losing.
That's right. Yeah,
I don't mind it.
Yeah, you're right, mate. Like we all want to win. Okay, and fan, if you support someone, you want to see them play well and have victories more often than not. We all hate losing. There's no doubt about that. But as long as your team has a go, like Payne Haas, for example, mate, they haven't been winning too many games over the last 2 years. But that bloke, every time you watch him play, mate, he is busting his backside to do everything he can to win a game of footy for his team.
Oh, mate,
if everyone turns up and has that same attitude, then they're going to win more games than they're not.
And I think that we're starting to see the crop respond to Haas. I actually think that with the Broncos side, he is developed into a kind of spiritual leader where the crew that's there now has kind of come through under him. Whereas when they had a mix of some older guys and some young guys, it was very hard to distinguish who is our leader. Whereas I think it's very clear now, Haas is that forward pack at least leader.
Oh, of course, mate, and that comes with maturity and time and experience, and he's now been involved with the Origin, team, or at least in that squad for the last 2-3 years.
Yep.
So he's taken that confidence and that leadership back to clubland, and now you can see it starting to filter through that entire group, and you've seen their performances over the last 2 to 3 weeks have been a huge improvement over what we've seen for the past, season and a half.
Well, they look like the Broncos. They're battling. They're battling to the death. A Roosters side that's currently in the top 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Outside of a tough call, we win that match. Which I'm very proud of the boys over the last few weeks. They're going to win by 15 plus this weekend, which is going to be great. But just now onto recruitment. Jayden Campbell. He has just been re-signed till 2024 for the Titans.
Yes.
I said earlier in the week on my podcast, he, in my opinion, was one of the hottest properties on the market.
Yep.
First of all, do you think it is a good signing for the Titans? And then second of all, how do you think they manage Brimo with him?
Yeah, well, it's a great signing for the Titans. And, clearly there's a lot of sentiment there with his dad having played at the club. And being he's a club legend at the Titans, and just looking at his I called the game last week, the Storm Titans, and his performance against who is the team that's leading the competition was great. He was one of the best players on the field. Yeah. The thing that I was most impressed about him was he moves great, he's fast, he's agile, he's got great feet, and blah, blah. The way he competed for the football was the thing that impressed me the most. Now, he was there in defence, trying his heart out, and this and that. But the way when the ball was there to be won, and he wanted to, change the momentum or change the game, swing it the Titans' way, the man that was there was Campbell every time. And he's a young guy. He's made his debut against the Storm and played extremely well. He played against them. He got the call up, played against them the other night, and played extremely well. He should take a lot of confidence out of that. Playing 2 great games of footy against, who many regard as the best team in the comp, he should take a lot of confidence out of that and take it into the next, few years.
Oh, absolutely. And for people listening, why it's so important that you see a rookie play good against the best side, from my own experience, it felt different playing the Storm. If you could get a half break, it was much different to getting a half break against a lower tier side. So if you can shine against a Storm side that defensively is, the best in the comp or the second best in the comp, you can shine against anyone. And I think that was the most impressive thing about Jayden Campbell is he's shining against a team that is on a 20 or 19 win streak.
Yeah.
So if he can do that against the bet, I can't express to you guys enough. There is a genuine different feeling when you play the Melbourne Storm. The contact's different. The wrestle's different. The gaps are smaller. That they tie in better. There's the inches where you can find inches, and against other teams, you don't find them against the Storm. So for Campbell to do that, is incredible. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Mate,
Such a good signing.
Kempy, just a quick one for the listeners. Going on of what you just said about their, playing for the Storm, playing against the Storm, and preparing to play the Storm. What was your attitude like, say, when you come up against a team that weren't travelling so well? Like, was it harder to get up for those games, or were you more confident because of playing against a team like the Storm when you played well?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Because it was as a winger.
Yep.
It's actually it's more of a fun experience against the teams that are struggling because
there's more opportunities.
There's more opportunities.
Yeah.
But against the Melbourne Storm and the Roosters at the time, it was this kind of pressure cooker feeling of something great may happen. We played the Roosters before we played you in that 2008 series. It's one of the craziest games I've ever played. And then obviously we played you guys. There was this kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Like you could feel it. You could feel it on you. Whereas when you played against bottom 8 sides, it was more, this is footy. Like, I love footy. You know what I mean? I'm going to play footy.
Yeah, I get it, mate. Yeah.
And so for Jayden Campbell to do that not once, but twice in his debut year, very, very impressive.
Yep.
Now, we are going to go to a break. Don't forget to join the conversation, 0457 736 736. This is a captain's run with Cameron Smith for Best Sheds. Best Sheds are up to 40% cheaper than the competition. Visit bestsheds.com.au. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back to the captain's run with Cameron Smith. Now, as usual, guys, if you're sitting there in your car, you're at work, you're not feeling too good, and you think, I need someone to make me feel good. Well, there's a man that can make you feel good. It's Tristan from TopSport, mate.
Tristan!
How are you going, buddy?
Very good, Kempy. Very good, Smithy. How's things at your end?
Mate, good now. Very good now.
Going good. What's happening?
Very good. No, not much. Just getting excited. The footy finals aren't far away. The AFL finals this weekend. So we've got a big weekend of sport coming up. So, yeah, as always very happy to chat to you guys and run through a few of those and a bit of the racing prices later on. So,
Firstly, mate, your tip got up again last week. Talk to us about that, please.
Yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day, so we got something going. 1,450 we got in the kitty now for our charity account, which we'll work out at the end of the season. So, yeah, really happy to get one up and going.
Mate, we are absolutely killing it. And just quietly, before we move on, I know you don't count Broncos and Warriors as NRL teams, but the Kemp Cup was actually a fantastic game on the weekend. Some say that it was the best match of the round. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I've got to be honest, Kempy, I was sitting there watching. I'd had a couple of bloke beers. I was sitting there and enjoying them very, very responsibly. And I did enjoy the game myself. I thought it was high quality. It was, it brought me back to the day when you were running around out there and scoring tries for fun. So very enjoyable.
Mate, the Knights versus Titans. Speak to me. What's the market looking like for the Knights versus Titans?
Yeah, I can't wait for this game tomorrow night. It's $1.96 Newcastle, $1.87 the Titans. They have been backed off the map, the Titans. They've been $2.05 into $1.87. I think they probably start shorter. I just think they're playing pretty well. Like you probably saw it firsthand with they took the Storm there last Thursday and challenged them up until midway through the second half. The Knights have been winning, but I think maybe their form line hasn't been as impressive. So the Titans need to win this game to give themselves a shot at the 8. So $1.87 for the Titans, a -1.5, $1.95. Massive value there if you want to back the Gold Coast team.
Yep.
What are you thinking, Smithy? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, look, I've spoken. Well, the Knights they're almost home, okay, in the top 8, but the Titans have got plenty to play for, and we've seen that last week in the early stages of the match. They just couldn't sustain the intensity that they started against the Storm, and very much a different prospect, Newcastle. I'm actually thinking the Titans might get up on this one. It's good value.
Totally agree, and I also think that the Titans, outside of a few errors that released pressure for the Storm, if they had have not made those errors, I think it would have been a much closer.
Yeah.
The Storm would have won, but it would have been a much closer game.
You're right.
Now, Tristo, what about the premiership market?
Premiership market, yeah. So with Penrith bouncing back to a bit of form and showing their dominance in that last 20 minutes against South, they've firmed up quite a bit. They were $4 before that game. They're into $3.20 second favourite. Melbourne's still short. They're $2.30, but they've drifted out from $2.10 out to $2.30. The Bunnies are $6, Manly $9, and the Warriors down there at 1,000 to 1. Still some mathematics play.
Manly, I'm liking Manly's value there. $9. Tommy Trbojevic.
Yeah, and they've been on a run, and obviously he's had that week off, so he's back. They've got the Bulldogs this weekend, so you'd expect them to win. All eyes for Manly fans will be on the Roosters-Rabbits game, where if the Roosters win, they probably lock up that top 4, but they are big underdogs there. If Manly can get into that top 4, they certainly give themselves almost a free hit in week 1 of those finals to get themselves into a good position for the run home.
What are the Roosters paying? It's something pretty surprising in the sense that because it's the Roosters, they're in the top 4. What are they paying to beat the Rabbitohs?
To beat the Rabbitohs, they are $4. So it's $4 the Roosters, $1.26 the Rabbitohs. And there's talk that there might be a couple of players, doubtful for the Rabbits. So if you think the Roosters are a chance of being gutsy all year, obviously down on troops, but this is their big game. If they can, if Teddy can have a blinder and if maybe a couple of those Rabbitohs don't front up, then $4 plus 12.5 as well if you think it's going to be tight.
And what about the racing, mate? We picked a winner last week. Did we pick a winner?
Yep.
Yeah, we did get the winner. We got Nicow Spur up, so we're going to go another race here. In the last race at Sandown, I'm going to go back to the same track. Number 14, Aidensfield. It's been well backed. It's barrier 19, so it's going to. Craig Williams has got his work cut out for him to get the horse across. But $7 into 370. We're going to pop 200 on the nose, top fluctuation, and we'll see if Mr. Williams can get a result. If the horse gets in, it's the best horse in the race by some margin, but it's just got to get a little bit of luck in running.
He's a magician, Willow. He's a great horseman. He knows those Victorian tracks. He rides them well. He gets something done for us here, I reckon.
I think so. So yeah, we'll pop that on, and then we'll hopefully get the balance up over 2,000 by the time we're chatting next week.
All right. Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't know anything about horse racing, so I agree with everything you just said.
We're on par then.
So do what they said, boys, but make sure to gamble responsibly and with TopSport, of course. Thanks, Tristan. As always, it's a pleasure to hear your beautiful voice on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I'll see you next week, buddy.
Thanks, Tristo.
Have a good day, guys. See ya. Bye.
Whether it's same-game multi or head-to-head betting, TopSport gives you top dollar for everything NRL. Gamble responsibly.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Now, we'll quickly read some texts, and then we'll get into a preview. Hey, gentlemen, what do you think about players getting the jab or jab no play? I am not going to talk about that. I'm not going to go into that weed of disaster.
I'm staying away too.
Wow,
Very
wow.
political.
G'day, boys. Just wondering your opinion on Justin Holbrook should do to unlock David Fifita. We all know last week it was a bit frustrating to watch.
Well,
Smithy?
Well, mate, 7 runs for 61 metres. That's just not an... And I spoke about this on Vossi's show, I think, earlier on Monday morning about my player of the round that needs to lift. It's Fifita, for sure. It's Fifita. And not take the big signing news story and salary, or take that out of it. He is one of the leaders in that footy club. Now, they are a team searching for an opportunity to play finals this year. If they are any chance of playing finals, he needs to come up with 2 massive performances in these last 2 rounds. Big performance. And both games, let's be realistic, they are games that they should win.
Yeah.
And can win.
Absolutely.
If they play well, but there's a huge importance on Fifita's role that he plays in those 2.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a mixture of 2 things. They've swapped their halves so many times. It is very hard for that connection and that edge back rower to connect. But at the same time, I think, yes, Fifita is young, but he needs to go, you know what? I am the guy. I'm the guy. So he needs his hands on the ball as much as possible, because if he's not going to do it, then they actually don't have the players to do it.
Yep.
So I totally agree with you, mate. He needs to step up, have a big one. Now on to now we've got 1 minute. We've got 1 minute, Smithy.
1 minute.
Nice first Titans. So you got.
We always run out of time on this show. Seriously, we've got way too much to talk about, way too many texts, but it's great. Thank you, listeners. Titans. I'm thinking Titans. Come on, Fifita. Come on, mate.
I'm going Titans. Warriors, Raiders.
I'm going to say Warriors.
I'm going Raiders. Roosters, Rabbitohs.
I'm thinking the Rabbitohs.
I am going to go Roosters for the upset. Dragons, Cowboys.
Oh, goodness me. I'm going to say Cowboys because they're playing in Rockhampton, so they need to lift for the people in central to North Queensland.
Mate, I'll just go Cowboys too. Sharkies, Broncos.
This will be a big game. This is a huge game for the Sharks.
Yeah.
But the way the Bronx are playing at the moment, mate, I don't know. Mulatalo ruled out, broken jaw. I'm going to go the Broncos.
I just want to apologise to Sharkies fans. We're going to end your finals hopes. Broncos 15+. Storm.
Melbourne Storm.
Yes, definitely. Storm. Manly versus Bulldogs.
Manly.
Penrith Tigers.
And Penrith.
Thank you for listening to The Captain's Run. We will see you next week.